Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. My name is Alicia Michelson, and I am the Artistic Director at Peninsula School of Art in Fish Creek, Wisconsin. I am honored to introduce our newest pair of artists in residence, Donté K. Hayes and Tim Lytvinenko. Donté and Tim are with us for a total of 6 weeks in an immersive studio experience that prioritizes time and space for them to engage fully in their creative practice, experiment, and pursue new projects and ideas. Today, we have the opportunity to get to know each of them and their work through brief image presentations. First, we'll hear from Donté. Donté K. Hayes is a research-based artist residing and working in Cliffwood, New Jersey. Donté utilizes ceramics to inform and document the past and present to initiate healing and understanding for the future. He graduated summa cum laude from Kennesaw State University in Georgia with a BFA in ceramics and printmaking and an art history minor. He received his MA and MFA with honors from the University of Iowa. Donté has work included in the permanent collections of the Renwick Gallery of the Smithsonian Museum of American Art, Minnesota Museum of American Art, and the Newark Museum of Art, among others. Take it away, Donté.
Thank you, Alicia. It's great to be here, and I'm looking forward to conversating about the work. The first work that I wanted to show are two of my linoleum prints. I am basically new to ceramics. I've only been working in clay since 2014, and my background is mostly in drawing, painting, and printmaking. And so these two pieces I wanted to show first to show how the progression of my ceramic work fits into how I see printmaking as a three-dimensional material. First, this one called Ghetto Blaster State of Mind, and on the right is titled Beacon. And what I was thinking about, I was researching a lot of the Ife heads and Yoruba, from the Yoruba people in Nigeria. And in 1938, they were discovered by a German explorer named Leo Frobenius. And when he saw these beautiful bronze sculpture figurative busts, he was like, wow, this is beautiful. This must have been made by the great people of the lost city of Atlantis. That's crazy to think that even when you were in Africa, in Nigeria, a place of all Black people, you would think that this was made by the lost city of Atlantis from Greeks, because it was so natural and so realistic that they didn't think that someone of Black skin could make those pieces. So that really like struck a chord to me when I learned this history. And you can see these two bronze sculptures still in the British Museum. So I thought that's really deep that the canon claims it, yet they don't want to really speak on how it was even received into their museum. So the left piece is called Ghetto Blaster State of Mind. And I love to put my love of hip hop in all my work. So I wanted to like say that like just like hip hop was a avenue for understanding, so was the Ife head. And then on the right, Beacon, even though I've never been to Africa, even through this form of digital and computers and Instagram, I could still be a part of a global African diaspora. So from that, I started working in clay, like I said, in 2014. And these were one of the first two pieces I've ever created. And the left one is called Old School, and the right is called Listen. And they're both inspired by those two printmaking linoleum block prints. Now, the one on the left, Old School, everything is made out of clay except for the cassette tape coming out of it. And actually, you can play music with this just using my phone. I can press a button and music will actually play outside of it. So it was really funny when I first introduced this piece. I pressed a little button on my phone, so music would start playing out of it, and I started breakdancing, and everybody was like, "What are you doing? Where's this music coming from?" And they were like, "Oh, it's coming from the ceramic boombox." So I thought that was pretty cool. So from there, I wanted to continue that research of studying my ancestry. So thinking more about that, when we talk about Africa, we always speak about it in a way that it's a country. Africa is a continent. It has 54 countries. And when we speak about the ideas of enslavement, we always say they came from Africa. You couldn't even say they came from West Africa, let alone a country. So that made me really think about like what it would be to go through something so like crazy to be taken from your place of origin and then taken to a whole new environment. So I made this piece called Time Capsule back in 2015, and everything is made out of clay except for, of course, the Coca-Cola bottles and the different jars with hair. Some of them has sand. Some of them are actual beads that I created out of ceramics, as well as there's teeth. And I was saying that these were the only things that were left inside that could hold before they were enslavement, before they became slaves. It was the only things they could keep. They only could keep the sand on their feet, or the teeth that's in their mouths, or the jewelry on their arms. The reason why it's on the Coca-Cola crate is because one, I lived in Atlanta for most of my adult life. And when I went out of town and went to different countries like Cuba or Europe, specifically Italy and England and things and France, you couldn't buy anything but Coca-Cola. So it was like the idea of Coke is it. So just like the idea of thinking about commodity, human beings were a commodity. So from there, I continued this uh, knowledge and research. And this piece I actually did in my time in graduate school at the University of Iowa. And this was one of the first pieces that really started me out to the work that got me here at Peninsula School of Art. Now, piece is called titled Empire Juice, and it's combining my ceramic work along with my printmaking. This is a print that I printed onto the clay, and I made it look like I'm cutting half of a pineapple. And the reason why I used the pineapple, because the pineapple is a symbol for welcoming and hospitality. However, we think that that idea came from Hawaii, but actually it's a colonial reason, and it was used in the slave trade, pineapples. Pineapples were used as a symbol of time. They would put a pineapple on a big spike on the loading dock when new shipment of enslaved Africans would come. They would know that a new shipment was there by a new pineapple. They would know how long the shipment was there by how old the pineapple looked through the days. So I wanted to play on the idea of empire, and I love science fiction. So I put the Empire's greatest thing, Star Wars, is Death Star, onto the image of an Afro pick, this showing how like empires go and fall. And these are actually bookends. So when you display it, I would put books between them. So when you open up the book, you're like, oh wow, it's actually half of a pineapple. So from there, I pushed this idea further about welcoming and hospitality into the work. This piece is called Dalek, and it comes from one of the greatest TV shows of all time, and it's still running. And it's called Doctor Who. And if you don't know anything about the Daleks, they were a interstellar alien race that believed in that they were the greatest race of all kind, and they would destroy any race by because of their power and their control of the universe. And they would always say, exterminate, exterminate, exterminate. So I took that idea of the Dalek and wanted to flip that on its head to make something positive. And if you've ever seen what these images look like, so after this conversation, you should Google with your phone and check out what a Dalek looks like. They would have like these bulbous shapes, and I use those bulbous shapes because when you think of that, you think of something of comfort and things of that nature. But yet they weren't a comfortable and nice race of people. They were actually ruthless and killers, and believed in only superiority. So I wanted to play with that idea. Second, the use of the texture is a way of bringing people in, making you feel like you can touch it because you don't know if it's made out of clay, you don't know if it's made out of of raffia. You don't know if it's made out of clothing of some sort or textiles, but it's actually used by a needle tool. That's the reason why in the beginning of the conversation, I had mentioned that these pieces are three-dimensional prints to me, my sculptures, because I just use a needle tool, just like if we were doing an etching on a copper plate, making one mark at a time. So this is like three-dimensional mark making going amok, but creating something powerful and beautiful at the same time. So from there, I wanted to push this idea further, and this piece is called Welcome. So I was thinking about the pineapple and the symbolism, but also I was thinking about the research, the true research of my ancestry. Now, if so the ancestry that I come from is from my people is from Burkina Faso. Like I said, I've never been there. I was born in America, but Burkina Faso, they have the Bois people, BWA, and that's how you pronounce the name, Bois. And they wear these powerful, amazing raffia and adornments for their rituals. And those rituals are created to speak about their knowledge as well as speak about giving back to the community and giving your knowledge to the next person. And then the next person gives their knowledge to someone else. So you're never, ever holding something back. You're always being vulnerable in your life because you want that vulnerability to be power. So that's the reason why I call it welcome. And I feel like as human beings, we all should be a welcoming vessel for another person. This piece is called Pour, and once again, this piece it kind of looks like a pouring a drink from a vessel, but if you notice, the vessel has no opening, and so I was thinking about the idea of the word pour. If you heard me say pour, you might think I was talking about finances, not just pouring some vessel into some a cup. So I was wanting to play that there is no opening. So how do we pour ourselves to others? Are we going to hide or are we going to be open? Are we going to give ourselves? Or are we going to not leave all of the drink inside the vessel? It's a metaphor of how we as human beings have kind of lost ourselves into the idea of using a phone to create social love or social adornment or social um, mind state. If we get off of our phones, maybe we really get to understand who we are as human beings. This piece is called Navigate, and I was thinking about my grandfather when I was making this piece, and when we were, and I grew up before I moved to Atlanta. I grew up in Maryland, and we would go down south to see my grandparents, parents, and nephews and uncles and all that in North Carolina, as well as Virginia. So there was something called the Green Book, and the Green Book was made for African Americans to know where to go and go during the 70s, 60s, and 70s and 80s to know where to go to get food, to get drinks, to stop, to get the gas, to go to a hotel that wasn't a racist place. So I was like, I don't even know, like most people who are black don't even, if they're not black, most likely people didn't even know that there was a encyclopedia book called the Green Book that gave you a space to know that you could go here, and a red means no, green means go. So it was a powerful book that my grandfather would always take with us when we would go on trips, even back in the 80s. This piece is called Knowledge, and it's going back to what I was explaining about the Bois people and how they think about knowledge. Um, the idea of the zigzag, if you can see in the image of the sculpture, you can see like an image of like it looks like a zigzag or a mountain form in the middle of the sculpture. And that's a powerful icon for the Bois people. And it's a recognition of like how a snake moves, going around and up and down like a snake. But it also speaks to how we as human beings must learn and teach others. So a human being will go up to the mountain on their own to get knowledge from the universe, or what I say, God, as a Christian. And then from there, you go down and you give that knowledge to your community. And then another person does the same thing and they go back down. So the idea of knowledge is always going up and always going down, that you are no longer always a student. You're not always a teacher. You're always both. You're always there to acknowledge another person may have something that you don't know that you should be able to listen to, and you will grow, and then you will grow with someone else. Here is one of the pieces that I really wanted to speak about, because this is going to speak to why I wanted to, which is cool. I said speak, so haha, I'm smooth. So this is the reason why we even wanted to come here at the Peninsula School of Art, and I'm so thankful to be here, because of the one reason is you don't have to come here to like have an idea of what you want to make. The goal here is to experiment. And this is a piece called Speak that was made out of porcelain. And I've only made very few objects out of porcelain. And so I wanted to come here to actually explore what the medium could do for me as an artist. So when I made this piece, I was thinking about the idea of conversation. The color white, first of all, when we think of it in the canon, the Western canon, we always think of that as purity and clean and illumination. So when I thought of it, it made me think of the one thing that every time I would go to a museum, I would always see these beautiful like geodes at the gift shop, and then you will see like these amazing like posters at the gift shop. But I was always interested in the coral that you would see at the gift shop, and it was always white. And I didn't even know that until like a few years ago that coral, when it's dead, is white. Actually, coral is a beautiful mix of all different colors. It only bleaches is when it's dead. And that made me think about the idea of the Middle Passage, which was enslaved Africans from West Africa going to the New World, or what we call the Americas. So from South America to the Caribbean to North America. And I was thinking, wow, what if they didn't make it on that trip and they were put overboard, or they jumped overboard on themselves because they didn't want to live in servitude. And so no longer was their color black, they turned white, just like the coral. So that's where I came up with this piece called Speed, because the only time you think of Black people is in their death, not in their life. And I want Black life to be something that you see the totality of it, not just it when someone's dead or when someone's alive. In 2022 and 2021, Black Lives Matter was really large and everything, and George Floyd had died. And when someone saw this piece, they commented and said, "Oh, you're talking about George Floyd." And I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah. The only time when we glorify Black people is in their death." And that's the what really spoke to me. So while I'm here, I hope that my work could continue to grow, and I use porcelain as a way to speak on colors, but also speak on culture and also speak on life. And with that, I want to say thank you, and thank you, Alicia, for this opportunity. And if you want to see me and talk to me more, we're having a great opportunity for that on February 18th from 3:30 to 5. You can come do a studio visit with myself and Tim, and we look forward to seeing you. And until then, peace.
Thank you, Donté. Tim Lytvinenko is an artist and photographer living in Raleigh, North Carolina. A graduate from North Carolina State University, Tim has exhibited pieces in the Contemporary Art Museum Raleigh, 21C Museum, Blowing Rock Art and History Museum, as well as large-scale public art pieces. He experiments extensively with large-scale print processes, which start in digital photography. Using photographs from his life, he creates work depicting memory, transience, and grief. Instead of printing full or whole photos, Tim uses a photo transfer process inspired by Japanese kintsugi, which honors brokenness and change. By breaking the image into squares and creating a rebuilt whole work on the final surface, Tim transforms photographs into something new with its own memory and imperfections, articulating the parallel human experience. Let's hear from Tim.
Hello, I'm Tim, and I'm going to show you some of my work. This is from my first show called Memories in 2015. It referenced memory with photographs from my life, and they went back about 10 years from that time. So it was about 2004 to 2015. This is the first time using uh, new photo transfer process that I created where I would print onto plastic transparency and then be able to manipulate the image and then transfer it onto archival photo paper. And it was what I used for the entire show. They were all done in little 8x8 squares, and it helped to break up the image and kind of give it this grid um, that I really liked. The big work in the photo is titled Milkshake and consists of 400 8x8 individual transfers, and the full size of it is 176 inches by 176 inches. Free Fall is my next show where I photograph humans in my studio in a way where you couldn't tell if they were falling, floating, or just moving through the air. The series reference change and choice, where the works. Ask how you see it and how you interpret which way is up. It also served as a way to find a safe space through uncertain times. Um, Falling isn't as scary if you know how to land. This work was from Free Fall. It was titled Ravel, and all the works were titled uh, by auto antonyms, which were words that meant the same thing and its opposite. This was one of my favorite works from the show. Close up, you can really see um, the colored lights that I used to photograph everybody and all the fun little details that the transfer process would create and all the little imperfections that gave each work its own personality. These works are from another show I had in 2015 called Shadow of Russia. They are 22 by 17 inch on paper, and they're all photographs from a couple trips that I had to Ukraine to see my family in 2005 and 2007. And when I went there, it was a very nice, like, easy time. I got to meet all my relatives, and we had a great time. And it was this wonderful place that I went to. But by the time I was printing these, they were having a war with Russia, and I ended up creating this transfer process where I would do multiple transfers of each quadrant of these works. I would do it over and over on top of each other, where the darks would really kind of creep in and give you more of a feeling of what was happening now, as opposed to the happier photos that were happening when I went to see my family. This work is from Liminality, which was a show I had in 2018, and marked a really big change in my work and some of my style. I created a new process for this and was using that for all of the works. I still use the 8x8 squares, but I was able to add in reflective qualities, creating a much more transient image, something that like changed as you're like in the room and depending on the lighting. Um, the show was within a year of losing my mom to cancer. And this is a photo of my mom from the 80s. And it's 80 by 72. It was printed on 36-inch doors. There's two of them that go together. And I wanted this like really safe kind of space that we could have where we're really used to going through doors. And so like standing next to this was very safe and easy. And I titled this It Doesn't Always Have to Be Chocolate, which was my mom's answer to what's your favorite ice cream flavor. Um, this work, both of these images are of the same work. It's also from Liminality, and I thought was a good way to show how some of these works change. The image on the left is under gallery lighting, and the image on the right is with more direct lighting. I think I had a flashlight pointed at it directly when I was taking the photo, and um, it really shows how the reflective qualities interact with the paper and how some of that um, kind of planned randomness with the process really comes through, um, and you can see, like, if you were in a space with this when you're walking through it, or the light changing during the day, the work itself would be changing as well. This is a video showing the full process of my work from the last few slides with that process, where I put down a layer of paint and then face down the photograph that I printed on metallic gold 8x8 sheets of paper. And once that's on there, I'll let it dry fully, like overnight, and then come back and wet the paper from the side that I could see it, and then start sanding it down with my hands, um, revealing the image and kind of organically giving these imperfections and flaws that give, like, the work the real personality. Um, and then once it's already through, I can sand down even more and kind of get show more of the image, show less of the image, show more of the reflective qualities, and really push some of those transient ideas. This work is of a good friend of mine, Eugene, and we photographed that in maybe 2016, 2017, and I made this work in 2018. These are works from a completely new process that I did after Liminality. I had a 48-inch printer, and I was doing full 6x4 foot transfers. And this was a project that I wanted to do that used the same image but different processes to kind of give you this feeling of limits, of extremes, of something that felt normal and then something that felt as if you were on the brink. And for me, it was a way to illustrate those extremes, and then also to know that you can always come back from either end of those. And this work was one of my favorites from a show that I did in 2023 called You Can Never Leave You. This work in front of us is called Krishchini, and Krishchiki, which is a Ukrainian holiday cookie, and it means angel wings. And with direct light, which you can see on the right side, this work really reflects warmth and gold. And then on the other side, you can kind of see how it's like a little bit cooler. Maybe this photograph that I have doesn't really show it as much, but like it does show a lot colder when it's outside of like direct light. But in direct light, it kind of like gives you more of this gold look. And it was a way to iterate on liminality, and a way to really show that there was some warmth coming from the darkest places of the images, which was a duality that I was struggling with, and something that I wanted to include in the works. And then the actual content on here, I have a black and white photo of the moon, and it's layered over self-portraits, and they were taken about at the height of some of my anxiety and panic. And I thought it was a way that I could remember and honor that time, which was like a really difficult time for me. But bringing those two things together seem to counter the protective flaws of memory. Um, the photos of me were printed onto the book pages of Radical Compassion by Tara Brach, which was a book given to me at the time, and it really helped me hold some of these dualities at that time. This is the first work that I did using books and prints onto books, and that's something I'm exploring a lot more here at the residency, and have been gathering books from the community and trying to find some interesting stories with them. This was another work that I had from You Can Never Leave You. It was the largest work and one of my favorites from the show, and also one of my oldest works. I photographed this from a pinhole camera when I was in third grade. So it's like around 1994, maybe earlier. Um, and so I still have the print of it and I scanned it. And this is me. One of the two characters in the middle is me, and one of them is my friend Dave. We were on a jungle gym in elementary school. And and so this was a 12 by 8 foot work and kind of the centerpiece of my last show. And I think that's it.
To both Dante and Tim, if you are tuning in from the Fish Creek area, please join us in person for an open studio event with both artists on February 18th from 3:30 to 5 p.m. Between now and then, keep an eye on our social media for more on these artists. Thanks so much.